Welcome to Trading Lounge and the daily US stocks for Wednesday, September the 28th. And starting with the Nasdaq here, and this is just on 100 ticks. So we're looking down at wave 1, wave 2. I'm bringing wave 3 in here, and an A and a B and a C for wave 4, because this size of this correction here kind of justifies this one here. The question is that do we have wave 5 in here with wave 3 here? And one would think that, well, it's a little bit small, isn't it, compared to wave 3 and wave 1 here. That would be the logical step. We can see that that the market doesn't really want to go down anymore, does it? It's getting some nice support there. But I think that there is a little bit more of a downside move here. As I also mentioned as well, is that that will probably be in, let's just have a closer look at that here. That will be about, will be in that block there somewhere, so that will be about there. Probably the 50-60%, probably top end of 60%. So it could reach, well, it could reach this area here. That's the thing about that. A little bit lower, yeah. So yeah, so that's the space there for that. I'll just do it. Better do it by the book. Otherwise, I'll be in front of the judge. Yeah, I think we've got 1 and 2 here. That's my sort of my thoughts on that. Also, as I mentioned yesterday, you know, when we come into Wednesday and Thursdays, they're kind of our swing days, and we're in a bear market and not a bull market. So we have the bullish weekly cycle. So that can, you know, in a bull market, that tends to come down in the first session and then up in the second session, you know. But in a bear market, we'll do the opposite probably, and come up in the first session and down in the second session. And then Thursday is normally the bear day, so we're going to see Thursday be the rally day, and then hopefully Friday and Monday to help finish this off here. So we need to go up here, we need to come down here somewhere. We need to go through a wave 4 or whatever, be a bit complicated here, and then down for a wave 5, something, you know. I don't think it's going to leave this number. It's not going to go, it's not going to stray far from that number. Of course, under the 11,000, I mean, the 900 is important, but the 800 is more important. We're getting into group 2 at that point. So that's my thoughts basically on the markets in a nutshell, you know. So let's just see how this goes. But as I mentioned before, that you know, coming into this low, looking for this wave 3 here and this wave 4 here, this is all going to get complicated here. It's, you know, it's just simple as that. So yeah, wider stops and less money in the market at this point. So this is pretty much in line with the banks. It's not in line with Apple, or it's not in line with NVIDIA or a lot of the other stocks. But I mean, it is the majority. It is the main count through the markets. So yeah. Anyway, that's that. So Apple's in a world of its own. It doesn't really want to leave the 150. And it's in the 60% retracement level from here to here. I'm thinking that, you know how the others got to come down for their wave 3, 4, and 5. I think that we will be coming down, but when the rest of the market rallies from its wave 5 and wave 1 here, I think Apple will sort of want to shoot up again. You know, it'll go quite high, and then it'll be sort of reluctant to come down as well, you know. While the others come further down, Apple will be sort of reluctant to come down. So I think it's, you know, I get the feeling that it's going to be a move like that. So it's not the best shorting stock, put it that way. If we're going to trade something from, you know, either all the other stock, the banks will be from 1 to 2, right? That's pretty clear to me. So Yeah, this will probably be so this will be one of the better ones to trade long, you know, that's what I'm thinking. So yeah, anyway, we'll just drill into this. I'll just cut straight through to 1000 and then 100 here for this. So you know, I've got it down as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 here, because I'm waiting for it to sort of break through, you know, but it just doesn't want to break through, so I might have to relabel all this. We know that it's got support at the 150. I keep harping on about it, and the 50-60% retracement level, but you know, I'm still getting things like this move here is in 3 waves, because this move came down here and overlapped this one a bit, you know, so we're left with 3 waves here, so it's corrective. So I'm thinking that, you know, we've got wave 1 here and wave 2 up here for this, and then we'll come down for wave 3, you know, and so on. But that's sort of where we are, and you can kind of see that the, you know, like the ball bouncing off the floor here is getting these lower highs here as well. So I feel like we're on the right track. The rest of the market, as I mentioned with the Nasdaq, needs to come down further, but they're all a little bit sort of reluctant to come down. So I may have to change this count, you know, but yeah, it's not the shorting. I'll probably say that and it'll just break straight through, you know, the normal sort of thing when you open your GOP. So yeah, so this is the count here. I mean, I had wave 2 here yesterday, so I need to put it here, and we need to just fix my mistake up. But I think that we still need to leave the, put a stop above that point there. I suppose it could be an expanded sort of situation here where we have an A wave here and then an A, B, C here for that. That's possible, and have one more high coming up here. I mean, it looks like it just wants to go up, doesn't it? You know, that's the thing with it. Yeah, but I'll just leave it like that. Yeah, there could be. I think the worst that could happen here is that we get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, something like this, and then down again, you know. Could be something like that, and we need to put this over here and this here, and put this over here for that, and have a, as it looks like a B wave here in that case, but yeah, and that, yeah, I mean, I could still put the A wave here as well for that, but this looks impulsive here, so it looks like it wants to move up a little bit further. Okay, so over to NVIDIA. So this is on 1000 ticks, and we'll go to 100. I just wanted to sort of put this out. Now, this is another stock that's not in sync with the rest of the market. I may need to tighten this up a little bit, but I'll just stay with this count because I can see that, you know, it's come down nice and strong here, and then it's sort of reluctantly wanting to move down. But that's what you get within group 1 as well, and you get that sort of bouncing around. But I still need to finish this off in some way. I still need to get down to this 5th wave here, you know. But I may need to tighten it up a fair bit. But NVIDIA's been doing a thing, you know, it's been working with the rest of the markets to a point, but it's been doing its own thing as well. It doesn't have the same highs and lows in the bigger picture as the general market. Let's just go to 100 ticks. So I've also just adjusted this as well in looking at this down here as 1 here, an A and a B and a C wave here for this. But I don't have a nice clean 5 waves down here as well. So the 50-60% retracement level from this high to this low here is back up into this space here. So it could certainly move up into that space. So we'll need to be aware of that. Yeah, I mean, this just looks corrective to me. It looks like an ABC sort of pattern here. So we may end up even bringing this wave 1 over to here, but it's possible, and then end up with, you know, another move higher up here. So if we take that top and bottom here, and that's the 50-60% retracement level, and anything really above that, then you would need to look at it going, if it found the 125 as support, then we would need to look at it going up here. It doesn't have to reach there. It would probably be about the same length as this leg here, and we would need to look at that climbing up a little bit higher at that point. So we'll see what Wednesday and Thursday deliver, but what we can see from the Nasdaq and the S&P, I mean the S&P is in the same boat as well, really. So we can look at the S&P. This is the S&P here. We can look at this as wave 5 being in here, but I just think this is too short. That's my thing, you know. I understand, and this wave 4 will just come back to that wave 4 there anyway. Do you know, that's the worst of it, really. But let's just see if this rallies to the 50-60%, wherever that may be, and then have wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here for that. Okay, so that's that. Amazon. So once again, well, this is interesting really, because when we look at the S&P, it's broken the low here. Right, so one would think, well, you could do that, Pete, you know, but I hear what you're saying. You know, it's a bit small compared to wave 3 and wave 1. So, but when you look at the Amazon here, and we've got wave trying to tune everything in, you know, the group of stocks that are moving together, and they're the stocks that have got the same low, the previous low at the 17th of June, you know, so all of those bunched together. So in this case, we haven't made a new low here, have we? So it's kind of like, well, we don't have that wave 5 in here yet, you know, so could this wave 4 get more complicated? You know, could this all be an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave up here for this wave 4? That's possible as well. And as I mentioned, coming into this yesterday or the day before, coming into all these series of wave 4s across here, you know, it does get really complicated, unfortunately. But as I mentioned, the trick is just to leave the stop out of the way. That's the way that we'll get through it, because trying to dance in wave, you know, you shouldn't, you know, even yeah, anybody been around long enough knows that wave 4s are tricky, and the risk reward is not there in terms of the trade, and you need to be, you know, sort of quick, and yeah, I mean, you need to, yeah, it's dangerous business trading in a wave 4. It's okay scalping, you know, scalping you do every day. It does, you know, and you do your 4 or 5 trades in the morning and the same in the afternoon when the volume's flowing, and that's it, you know. It doesn't matter what day it is. But this is a little bit different. But anyway, the main point here is that I'm thinking that we need to, we can rally here. So if we take this high and low here for this, there may be even one more little push down here for that. But basically, as long as this market stays under these tops here, then it's got a chance of going down at that point, you know, down into the 10 here. And, you know, even when we get down here somewhere, then it's come back to this point again, or come back to this wave 4 here, and then it'll go down again for wave 5 down here. When I close the platform, it all sort of comes back to the price here. Even when we get to wave 1 here, you know, we'd be looking for a 50-60% retracement level back here for wave 2. But a lot of the time too, that in these markets, that this wave 2 here will just come back to these wave 4s here again as well, and then go down at that point. So this is what we're up against here, with just generally speaking about the markets. You know, it's not a you kind of really, you need to have a plan before you enter into this, you know. So as you may know, I'm shorting BAC, and my aim is to, if we do break, and you know, if we do come down here further, then I'll take some money off the table here, but then I'll put it back in over here again, and then when I get down to here, I'll take it all off, and then I'll wait for that, and then hit that again coming down. So that's my plan, and I probably won't get all these tops and bottoms perfect, but if I get them reasonably right, I'll be reasonably happy. You know what I mean? It's not the end of the world. So I know what I'm up against. I'm not going to get upset about what I do, but I'm not going to be poking the snake with a stick in this space, you know, because it's just dangerous. So anyway, I'm just ranting on. Sorry about that. So Facebook here. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of the weaker stocks, isn't it, at this point? And as I mentioned yesterday, the longer term for this is somewhere down below 100, you know, so it'll be 90 or 80 or 70 or something into that space eventually. So it's not, I know that it's a cheap buy, as some analysts have said, and yes, well, of course it is. It's down a long way. But nothing's too low, nothing's too high when you've been around long enough, you know. It can always go further. So yeah, this is what I'm sort of, and Facebook's in a bit of a world of its own as well. It's in line with the other markets in terms of the intraday moves, but it's been thrown out of whack in the bigger picture. So it's not it doesn't have the same count as such. But yeah, I'm thinking here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll come back. We'll just continue to the downside, keeping the stop out of the way. I know that we're in wave 4, so this wave 4 can pull back to this wave 4, so that needs to go up there somewhere. I think this is, I could put wave 5 here and be finished with it at that point, and then put wave 3 here and then put wave 4 here. That's all possible. But as I mentioned, I think that we've got further to move down as 1 and 2 and 3 here. So yeah, but just expect this it hasn't really made a new low below here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 here. This is what a lot of the other stocks are too. A lot of the other markets are. Some of them can count 5 waves down. Some of them can't. But anyway, basically some sort of rally and then down again at that point, I would imagine. So we'll just leave the stop out of the way and, and just chill. And Netflix, so yeah, it's sort of reluctantly wanting to go down as well in all of this, We'll just keep an eye on it. I mean, it's just bouncing. This is what Group 1 does. We're at 200, then you got 1, 2, and 3, 10, 20, and 30, whatever you want to call it. And this is what happens. It just bounces, This is a perfect example of what happens within Group 1. So that's just happening. We just got to keep a bit of an eye on. When the number 2 becomes the retested resistance, then you'll see the market, once it's locked under here as the resistance, then you can be pretty much assured that it will be pulled down to the closest largest number. And if you've watched the market depth long enough, then you'll see that that writing of numbers playing out, how the market depth shifts from one side to the other. You'll see that shift in the weight there. I don't need to look at the market depth anymore because I know the trading levels on every single little number. I know basically what folks do at certain numbers, so it makes it a little bit easier. So I'm more of a picture person than a number person as such. So yeah, I mean, we can see this is wave 3 and 4 here, and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here for this, down into this level here somewhere. That needs to come down further. It's not a nice 5 waves down here. We could probably squeeze it in, but it still looks like all the same leg here to me, so I'll just wait. We should be bouncing down further. We can look at this whole move down here as wave 1 rather than wave 3 and 4. Still a little bit short on all of this as well. I can't really bring as an example, I can't really bring wave 3 in here because we need to be down here further. So Netflix is in a bit of a game of its own, really, as well, as we can see on the daily chart here. For example, it's so, I mean, normally you would get this wave 1 coming down to the previous low here, that type of thing, and normally wave 3 would be down here as well, and then wave 5 would be down here. So it'd be something you know, be more like this here. So we haven't really left, it's just staying up here. It hasn't dropped yet, you know, but at the same time, it still needs to come down to these previous lows in here, which is doing at the moment, and finding support in here, wherever the closest on the 20 group 1 here. So yeah, it needs to find that there is the resistance here. That's where that 20 will come in, and you know, it's going to be a slow thing here. This will only speed up to the downside once this whole wave 1 is finished, and then over here it will let go over here. So this is the short trade over here for this, when it lets go over here for that. So, you know, yeah, I mean, I don't know how you want to sort of handle that, but it's not going anywhere quickly. Do you know what I mean? It has to flush out all of this by coming down here and pushing that back up, give those guys a chance to get out or to get in, whatever, and you know, and then it'll let go over here somewhere, and then it will move down fast, you know. But there's a fair while for that to go. And then also too, when you've got the 200 here, of course, you've got group 2, which is 180, and then down to 165, and then 72 in here. Let's just give that a splash of red. So it's good to know about group 2, because if you see this coming down here and you're just unaware of the levels, then, you know, I mean, because if the 65 here, the lower end, became the retested resistance here, then you know that it's leaving that number and coming down to the next number, which is the 150 down here. But understanding group 2 and group 1, it really helps you to work with this closer, larger number here. It doesn't give you any answers. It just, the levels just basically break down the problem into smaller sections. So yeah, and brings your attention to the price, which is always good. Okay, so Enphase here, as you're aware, following this, then you know that we're in a correction here, and it's still a little bit small here for a wave 4, so there's still plenty to go here. Normally in corrections, I like to wait for, I know it's a bit of a get, sometimes they're easy to get and sometimes they're a bit tricky, but I always tend just to wait for the A wave to see if the A wave is in 3 waves or 5 waves, and that's kind of what I'm waiting for, really. I do think that all this is corrective in here, even though it made another new high here. Obviously there's support over here for this as well. I just don't think, there's no way that it's finished for this wave 4. It's just too small, you know. So you know, these few days, these handful of days here is not enough to rebalance all of this. The stochastics is down. It looks like it may even want to flatline a little bit, but let's go in and just have a look at this again. And so all I've done, I did get it wrong in that I had wave 4 here, but now I've put wave 4 here, and it does look like from this low here we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here. But this I'll still maintain being corrective, because this here is an A and a B and a C wave here. So this is a 3-wave move here. So this is corrective. I thought the wave 4, I mean, just logical really, because it came back to the other wave 4 here, but I'll put that up there. Maybe I need to adjust and put blue wave 4 there. I'm not quite sure about that, but as I mentioned, it doesn't really matter at this point. You know, we just want to see how this plays out here and finishes off. Of course, if the, you know, if we get, if I can see a pattern, an impulse wave, and we got support on something or other, then, you know, we can go long. But otherwise, we're just still looking for this to play out from over here, some sort of A wave, B wave that we need to be, you know, it's just not there yet, and some sort of C wave over here. So yeah, just a time thing really. So that's all pretty simple. Okay, for Tesla's kind of doing its own thing in its own pattern, and yeah, so we should see it down here further if everything goes according to plan. I mean, you can count this as being bullish up here, but that wouldn't be in line with the rest of the markets. And I don't know, they're all kind of, you know, they're they're all like, each market is like a human being. We're all the same, but all uniquely different. But we all like to be in herds, for most of us. Well, not all the time, but so it is part of the herd. And this sharp move down here was quite sort of helpful in seeing this, but it hasn't really retested this number to fail yet. You know what I mean? It's like to leave this number here, it would really need to test that and then drop. It doesn't have to go all the way up or anything, or even if it just took this low out here now that it's been doing corrective moves up here, like taking that low out, you know, from where it is fine, or it could push up and come down, that's fine too. But all I'm saying is it hasn't let go of this area yet. That's the main point with all of this. That's the first thing you need to understand in terms of reading a market. And yeah, look, sometimes you know shit and other times you don't, and the important thing is to say that you don't know, and then that way it stops you putting money into it, you know, because once you've got attachment there, you tend to make silly mistakes. So anyway, hopefully we get this trend. It's never in a straight line, of course, so it makes it a little bit tricky, but let's go from here to, I think we've got here, I just want to check the 1000 to see that I've updated it a bit. Yeah, so that's really where we are at the moment. It's a pretty nice sort of corrective pattern at this point, so it's probably 1 and 2 down here now. I think we need to look at all, because of it had that extra rally, we need to look at this. Look, it could move up further, that's the truth of the matter. So we could put wave 2 in, oops daisy, we could put wave 2 here, or we could put it over here, unfortunately. But it does look rather impulsive here. If I was going to short this again, I would be doing it under here, and would probably need to put this in here as wave 1, because it doesn't seem to fit in any other way. I mean, I prefer to count this down as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, but this has rallied a little bit too high now, so we'll have to look at all of that as wave 1, even though it doesn't fit very well. So it sort of looks more like a corrective B wave, but it will be, this will be a corrective pattern technically, confirmed by taking that low out. So maybe you want to go short at that point, you know. Anyway, let's go to the 100 ticks, and that's how I've got it now. So we looked at being short here, and we've had that rally up here, but as I mentioned, we're leaving the stop out of the way up here. It could move up here. I think this is wave 1 here. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, coming back to the 50-60% retracement level area here. You could also bring this over into here now. So at the 280 here, if you can get to see that as the retested resistance here, so it's got to come through the 80 and back up and start from the bottom and then move up. So you need a bit of patience to do that. So this time around here, the next time this comes down and you get your first low below the level, then you look to short it at that point. Of course, you could also short it at 61.8%, but I would just be a little bit careful about that, because this, it has never really came up to its, if I take this as the low down here, it didn't really come back up to here at this point. So there's a few issues with all of this, but let's just see how this plays out. But just be mindful that we could get another move up here for this. And also understand that taking this low out here, the B wave, would be technically turning this into a corrective pattern, but at the same time you could definitely accept that low. So you could add to positions down here. Obviously this is all sitting in group 2 as well, so while it's in group 2 here, it's being pinned to this number here, so it hasn't let go of this number. That's its thing. Normally when we short, we look at the 65 to short, but you can work on the 72 if you get a classic trading levels pattern. So this will be the first low below the level, so that's why this is a good example of why you need to wait for that low and not to take the breakout. Wait for the retest of the breakout, and that helps you confirm that you're actually in the right direction at that point. So you would want to be, well, if I was trading this and I'm not, I would be looking to add at all of these positions down here and under here, but we'll get to that later. Doesn't matter too much. But yeah, it definitely looks corrective, so just not confirmed. Alphabet. So I want to drag Alphabet into the S&P and the Nasdaq count. So what I've done is I've changed this here and put wave 4 here as the same as the S&P and the Nasdaq, and looking at this as wave 1, 2 here, 3, 4, 5 to come down. By doing that, it's possible to put wave 5 here already for that, but I'll just sort of wait and see if we get this wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to come down for wave 3 of 5, and this wave 4 can come back to this wave 4, so that's why we'll leave the stop out. So if we do break lower over the days ahead, well then we'll look at we'll look at taking some profit down here, and we'll look to get back in over here. We'll just see how far. I mean, if this is wave 3, if that is wave 3 there, which is a bit, once again, a bit small, well then we might as well just ride the wave 4 out here and keep the stop out of the way, But if we're down here and down here somewhere, 95, 94, 93, and then we're going to go all the way back up here, well then we'll do something about that. We'll take advantage of that, But let's just see where we are first with this. So just once again, Wednesday and Thursday, they can be tricky days to trade. So don't get emotional. Don't be forced to push buttons that you weren't going to push. Microsoft. So I also want to drag this into this wave 3 now a bit more. So that's what I've done here. I've put wave 3 here and 4 here, which is a little bit different. I can put it down here as well, but see what I'm seeing here is I'm seeing this market doesn't want to move down. I mean, it's moving down, and yesterday we talked about the 240 here becoming the support and then the resistance. So this is a really good case of this type of behavior migrating from being support to resistance here. So we're on the right side of things, and we're leaving the stop out of the way. I'll just put that there. It's just still, I just got to start to bring them all. I've got to start packaging all the markets up into this wave 3. Now, if they've got a different count, that's okay too. But I still need to bring them into a point where while it takes, say, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq to get from wave 3 to 4 here, all the other counts, no matter what count I've got, they all need to do the same. They don't have to be the same count. They just need to take roughly the same time. So that's the trick of all of this, really, is just keep sort of herding them into the funnel of that, rightio. So yeah, I just think there's more downside here for this. This is that 240's been really tested quite nicely. Because it's taken this low out here now, you could bring this stop down to this point here, but I won't do that because I'm not quite 100% because we're going into Wednesdays and Thursdays, so I want to give it a bit of breathing space. Berkshire Hathaway here, so there's some of the counts here are quite good. I can count some of them in different. I could put wave 1 here and also wave 1 here as well. But it doesn't really matter. Even if I had wave 1 here, it would still play out as a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So I think that I'm in the 4th wave here. I think we're lagging a little bit. If we don't make a new high here, then I can look at this as this move down here as wave 1, and then I might need to push this wave 4 over to here for that, and push this, and don't have a nice 5 waves in this movie. Anyway, just sort of mucking around with it. The interesting thing here too, though, is that we're in group 2, 65, 72, and 80. So in this case, this this becomes important because it's quite big. It's we're sort of doing a lot of, the market's been in this group 2 for a long time. So it does mean that we can use other numbers in here now as well, of course. So from 260 to 270, we can go 1, 2, 3, 5, and then we can go 8. So 8's important here. And then when we talk about that 268, we can talk about group 2 within there, the 72 and the 65 and so on in here. In a smaller version, the 270 is very important. It's a big number. So 70 of 270, we've got 1, 2, and 3, group 1, and then 5, and then 8 here, then another group 2 in here. Smaller degree of group 2. So there's a lot going on in here for this, but it hasn't let go of this just yet, because when it lets go of that, it'll drop pretty quickly to this point here, to the 250. So let's just see how this plays out first. So this could be wave 1 and 2, but it does look impulsive. So as an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave, that would be good, and that will kind of bring it in. But then it would have to move pretty quickly to catch up to the rest of the market at that point, We've got short trades in here. I'm just keeping the stop out of the way. You could bring it down a little bit further if you wanted to, but when we have stops, I like to leave the last number as number 4 here. So even if I put it at 274 here, so either ends in a 4 or a 7 to the downside. If you just have always the last number as a 4 or a 7, you're going to have a better chance of survival with your stops. But even when, like if I put this, I wouldn't put it exactly at 274, I'd put it at 274.4 or 274.7. Okay, that type of thing. And then if you're trading CFDs, then you've got to understand where the spread is as well, so you might need to allow for that. Okay, so that's old Bertie. And block here. So I'm thinking that this still needs to come down further. I mean, we're going to definitely get a bounce off the 50 here for that. Yeah, it's just I don't want to put wave 5 under this point here. We've made a new low here. Once again, a lot of these markets are not really giving us the best 5 wave structure to the downside here, but I'm thinking this will just be 1 and 2, and then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Still needs to come down further. If you wanted to short, I mean, shorting it into group 1 of 50 is not such a good idea, because it's just going to be, it's going to bounce off 3. It hasn't let go of 5 yet, the 55. This is the first low below the level here, so yeah, dropping below this point here would drop it lower. It looks like a bit of a B wave here, doesn't it? It looks like some sort of down for wave 1, an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave up here for that, and then down. It'll be something like that, some weird thing. And Wednesdays and Thursdays don't help with anything either, It'll be something like that. Yeah, it's just not finished. I can't put wave 5 here, even though I've got 5 waves here, because this move has taken out this low here. So it's still part of a downtrend at this point. And Goldman, so yeah, well, this is kind of the same as the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq count, really, is that, the S&P pulled back up exactly the same as this done. So from its absolute high over here, this is a little bit, 10,000 ticks is a little bit like a daily chart, really. But yeah, so down here, it's pulled back to 50-60%. We know that the move up here is corrective. And we're looking down as wave 1 and 2, and then 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 in here, and down for the third wave. So we're looking for the low of the third wave, and then the fourth, and then the fifth. and then back up at that point. And then we'll look for wave C down here. So we can look at wave C, and I mean, you can do projections and stuff until the cows come home, really. But so that's the length of the first leg. So sometimes there's a correlation between wave A and wave C. So that would leave us at this point here. And then we could also look at this in terms of, what's the last low down here somewhere? That's the 61.8%. So yeah, we'll end up in here. So we'll end up down close to the 200 here. That's what I'm thinking. Of course, we do have a bigger bearish picture for all of this. So that B wave up there, that could also be wave 2 up here. So that would be bringing us down to a bigger A wave here, a much bigger sort of picture where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here for an A wave, and then back up for a B wave and down for a C wave. But stocks like Tesla are not telling me that, you know. I'm seeing a different thing, but we've got that in the background there somewhere. So I think we looked at that in early September, the bigger picture for the S&P. So yeah, anyway, down here somewhere for that, you know. I'm just going to remove these now. But so basically, you know, with all the banks, we're going to come down to these old lows here, and we're going to have a bounce off that. And this wave 2 here, once we get our 5 waves in here, yes, that can pull back 61.8%, but a lot of the times too, it'll just pull back to the wave 4s of one lesser degree, depending on what type of volume and resistance is in there, and how weak the banks are, and so on. Because we know that all these banks have put in, you know, money into that Citrix deal, so they've all leveraged themselves out into that space, and that looks like a bit of a dangerous situation at this point. You know, we've seen, you know, we've seen banks in trouble before, and you know, even, you know, you can talk about, you know, things like BlackRock and you know, being safe as houses. This is what the thing that bothers me about these ETFs, by the way, you know, like, and I'll just say it again, is that, you know, coming into, you know, I'm just shooting the breeze here, really. So if this is wave 1 and 2 here, and then we come down for 3, 4, 5 into you know, a bigger bear market, then, you know, a lot of companies will be put under pressure. If you read that, read about the banks with Citrix, CITRIX, you'll see that they got themselves into a bit of pulp at this stage. You know, and then if you look back in history, and you know, you look at, you know, not so much Lehman Brothers, you know, I mean, but still, that's a good example too, isn't it? Because, you know, they were betting on the housing market, and houses are safe as houses, right? Right. But then other companies like Long-Term Capital, you know, those guys, you know, they were bailed out by the government, you know. So these ETFs that people trade, to me, that's the next biggest risk area, because you don't own the underlying asset within the ETF. You know, and you can say that, you know, BlackRock and Vanguard and all these are really big, and all the rest of them, and all, but you don't know what they've done with their capital. You know, where, you know, what's going on with them. You know, you don't know until you know. You know, so nothing is safe out there in that regard, and especially ETFs. You know, because you don't own the underlying asset. You know, it's a bit like Grayscale with Bitcoin. You know, they've got 500,000 Bitcoin or something there, but, you know, they're trading at a discount, a 30% discount. I mean, why wouldn't you just buy buy Bitcoin off them for a discount, you know, at 30% cheaper, you know. So anyway, the ETFs have been good, but just remember it's a bit of a musical chairs situation. Let's go into the 10 tick and look at this. So from the top there, we're looking down from the top as wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for wave 1. Now, I don't have all the answers intraday just in here, but I can certainly see that this wave 1 here and wave 2 is nice and clear, isn't it? And as a wave 3 coming down here, this is all nice and clear as well. It's a nice long leg coming down, but what we don't have is we don't have wave 4, and you know, we don't have wave 5 here, because they would be about, you know, they would be about the same size sort of thing, you know. So we're not finished with this downtrend here yet. You know, I've put this little wave 4 in here to line it up with the S&P 500, but it's just a little bit small. You know, wave 2 was quite small, so it's possible. You know, but the other question here, like with the S&P, is do we put wave 5 in here? Is that it? You know, and is that wave 3? And this wave 4 will come back to that wave 4. So that's about the damage of it at this point. But I'm thinking that because of things like Amazon that haven't made a new low below the previous low, I think we have to look at this as wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here to finish off here. Now, I could be wrong about that. So, you know, if you don't want to go through this wave 4 here, then you need to take money off the table here now, or do it in part, you know. But otherwise, it'll be like this here. I'm in the same sort of boat here, but you know, I don't mind, you know, because I've sold BAC up into this all this area up here, and I know that we don't have that 4th wave in yet, and we don't have the 5th wave. I know that I've just got to carry some heat, but I don't have any short trades in this low area here, you know, so it's okay for me. I just got to work out how I can maximize things a little bit, but I don't particularly like getting in and out too much, you know. It sort of soaks up your attention too much. I'd rather just be sort of a bit more chilled about it all and carry things a bit better. But look, that's sort of where we are for Goldman's. So if we put that there, that will bring us 38 up there, and then this one will bring us, take it at the 280, will bring us back to the 310, yeah, so that back to the 310 there. That's probably the worst that could happen at this point, back up to there. So if you plan for that, that would just be a retest of that trend line. That's why I put it there, and then down here for that. But if that's blue wave 4 there, for example, then I can't see this getting back above the 300 on that, you know. I just think it's more, you know, tops about here somewhere. But you have to plan for that, you know. But yeah, anyway, this trend of 1 and 2 and 3 is quite obvious. The question is, have we finished the low here? That's the question. But in a way, it doesn't matter, because we know we don't have the 4th and the 5th wave here, you know. This is where I'm going to exit down here for this. And even so, we may not come back up to the 50-60% area up here. We may just come wherever this wave 4 is. If all these wave 4s here line up across here, well, then we could just come back to here and go down and put wave 2 here. And and Morgan's here. So we've got wave 1 and 2 from wave 2 up there. So we've got wave 1 here and 2 here. So I think we still need to come down here. We've got this wave 3 here and 4 here and 5 here. So it's possible that we could put wave 3 here, but otherwise we need to put wave 1 here and wave 2 here. So the worst situation that can occur here is this come backing up to the 38.2% retracement level. But if it does that, I mean, it's going to come pretty close to this wave 1 over here for that. So I still think this has got further downside to come as well. But it can retest that supply in here, so we can go up to here and test this. This is where Wednesday and Thursday make it a little bit tricky. You think that you've got it going in a particular direction, and then it just changes quite quickly on the Wednesday. So just be careful about that. But my message about the banks is that we still have to go lower. You know, that's the point with it all. Alrighty, I'll leave it at that. Cheers.